Good afternoon, dear participants, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, I'm Taufik. It's good to see you again. Welcome back to our second day at the third WCO RTC Indonesia International Conference, Customs Role on Sustainability and Digital Economy. Ladies and gentlemen, let's continue our agenda. At this international conference, RTC Indonesia has also organized a call for paper event since August 2023 to gather new ideas and insight about customs' role on sustainability and digital economy. The committees accepted more than 30 interesting papers on that topic. We would like to convey our appreciation for your contribution to the paper submitted for presentation. And right now, we are going to have the presentations of selected submitted papers. The presentations will be led by a moderator, Bapak Mukmin Setio Sudarmo. He completed his master's degree of management in Mercu Buana University. And currently, he is working as the head of license and facility section at the GCE regional office in Banten. So please welcome Bapak Mukmin Setio Sudarmo.
Thank you, thank you, Taufik, for question. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished. For today's agenda, there are 4 papers that presented by 2 online presenters and 2 offline presenters. First, we say hello to Gilang Rizky Pamutra and Ahmad Hidayat. Hello. The title of his presentation is Provisions on Importation of Electronically Transmitted Digital Goods, Study Case in Indonesia. You will be given 30 minutes, including presentation and question and answer. And time is yours.
Thank you very much, moderator, Mr. Mukmin Setio, who is also my senior and my colleagues from Banten Regional Custom Office. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all participants who are attending this conference in person or virtually. First, please allow me to introduce ourselves, me and my colleagues. My name is Ahmad Hidayat. I'm an Indonesian Custom Officer, and currently I'm posted in Multilateral Cooperation Section 3, Directorate of International Affairs, Directorate General of Customs and Excise in Jakarta. My daily job is conducting cooperation related with the WTO, APEC, and ISM organization. And my teammate, who is sitting beside me, is Mr. Gilang Rizky. We will both share the role in presenting the presentation later on. So please introduce yourself, Mr. Gilang.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmad Hidayat. My name is Gilang Rizky Pamutra. I'm from Directorate of International Affairs, Indonesian Customs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gilang. Today we are very pleased and very honored that our paper, which we are about to present, with the title is Provisions on Importation of Electronically Transmitted Digital Goods, Study Case Indonesia, has been selected among other interesting and insightful papers at this 3rd WCO Regional Training Center Indonesia International Conference year 2023. Next, I will pass to Mr. Gilang to continue the presentation. Mr. Gilang, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Hidayat. Okay, for the first part of our presentation, I will try to explain you about the introduction. It will include the background and also some fact regarding these issues. So next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, since 1999, the World Trade Organization, or WTO, has implemented a moratorium on custom duties on electronic transmissions. Means member countries cannot impose custom duties on electronic transmissions. However, this policy is lacking of clarity on its definitions and also the scope and impacts related to the implementation. Although some members said that the moratorium has established a good environment for digital economy industries, some members also noted that it is important to consider the significant impact of moratoriums on developing and least developing countries. For example, small and medium-sized enterprise may not be able to benefit from tax-free and duty-free policies for electronic transmission. And so some countries like Indonesia, South Africa, and India have expressed their opinions regarding the moratorium on custom duties, questioning whether the moratorium should continue and arguing that a specific measure is required to regulate the import of transmitted electronically digital goods. Indonesia has issued several provisions related to digital goods importation, including the tariff and also the import procedures. So in this paper, we will offer an overview on Indonesia provision on imposing custom duties on electronic transmission, including the policy background, the governing legal framework, the procedure of administering digital goods importation. Next slide, please. So for the literature review, in this paper we have elaborated several studies and research as our literature review, which can be categorized in two groups: the against moratorium and the pro moratorium. For the ones who against the moratorium, they emphasize that liberalizing digital e-commerce regulation will make it harder for developing nations to raise funds for essential development. And also, in the period of 2017 to 2020, it is estimated that developing countries lost 48 billion US dollar, and for LDCs lost 8 billion US dollar of tariff revenue. And also the moratorium will harm sustainable development, job creation, and economic progress. And also, WTO members need a multilaterally agreed upon definition, the scope of moratorium, and also the impacts of the implementation. And as for the ones who support the moratorium, underline that imposing import duties or custom duties on digital goods and services would have a detrimental impact on such countries in the form of increased costs and also decreased demand. And also imposing custom duties may lead to further retaliation among countries. And moratorium will generate a significant benefits of the moratorium for business around the world. So based on the literature review, we can underline that the debate on the moratorium custom duties on electronic transmission not only happen in international negotiation, but also in several academicians, practitioners, such as in UNCTAD and OECD have discussed these issues also. Next slide, please. The next, I will explain you regarding the shifting phenomenon in Indonesia, which also happened in Indonesia. We collect the data from Directorate of Information Custom and Excise, and we built the model calculation based on the South Center research paper number 157 in 2022. So as you can see in the slide, the figures show Indonesia actual physical imports, the red line wine, and the estimated import of 49 HS code of digitizable good, which show with the blue line. In the period of 2010 to 2022, the estimated imports of digitizable goods, 49 HS code, using the 8% average annual growth rate, was around 4.5 billion US dollar. And in the same period, the actual physical import of digitizable goods, the red one, we collect the data from Indonesian custom database, was 3.16 billion US dollar. So we could say that there was a gap or difference in the amount of data, and the black line was 1.39 billion US dollar. And we could say that this 1.39 billion US dollar is the import value using electronic transmission. So the gap indicates that the shifting phenomenon also happened in Indonesia. Thank you. Next slide, please. For the methodology, we use descriptive qualitative research for this paper. We want to comprehend phenomena relating to what research subject experience, actions, and also by describing it in words and language in particular context. We also use other materials by conducting literature study, meeting informants, and conducting interview researchers, and also we obtain the information. The information gathered then provided as a word-by-word description to make it easier to comprehend the data. And also to support and further explain the research findings, we also provide facts and in the form of statistical numbers and graphs. Next slide, please. So I will explain you about the findings and discussion in our paper. The first one regarding the Indonesia statement in WTO Ministerial Conference 11/2017. Indonesia statement have been recorded in the WTO document, as you can see on the slide. The statement said that the extension of the custom duty moratorium applies only to the electronic transmission and not to products or contents which are submitted electronically. Custom duty is not applied to electronic transmission, but the content that transmitted electronically. And then electronic transmission means solely the transmission of the data or the information made using electromagnetic means, in accordance with the respective law and regulation the respective member states. With this statement, Indonesia believes that members can impose the custom duties on the transmitted digital goods. Next slide, please. Next, I will explain you regarding the legal framework. In Indonesia Custom Law number 17, year 2006, it's explained that in Article 2, Paragraph 1 stated that goods brought into the Indonesian custom territory shall be treated as imported goods and are imposed on import duties. This implies that all imported into Indonesia custom territory are subject to custom duties. Any tangible or intangible goods obtained for outside Indonesia territory are considered imported goods and are thus subject to custom duties. And in Article 8b, Paragraph 2 stated that import or export software and or electronic data can be done through electronic transmission. Software and electronic data are considered goods that fall under this law, and their transportation or delivery can be done through electronic transmission, such as via internet. Next slide, please. We also have this simple analogy regarding the conventional importation and importation using electronic transmission. The figure shows that the shipment of tangible goods, the physical goods, the imported goods are in the containers and loaded to the ship as the carrier from the country A to B, either by direct shipment or through transshipment. Whereas in the other part of the figures, we could see that the ship or a plane is analogized as electronic transmission, and the cargo will be the content itself, or digital goods that transmitted from the sender abroad to the domestic receiver using electronic transmission. And next slide, please. And for this slide, this is regarding the classification on software and digital goods. Indonesia has issued the Minister of Finance Regulation number 26, 2022, and provides guidelines for the classification and customs duties on imported goods. The regulation includes specific provision for digital goods and creates a new tariff heading for such goods in Chapter 99, heading 9901 of the Indonesia Custom Tariff Book. Currently, the digital products transmitted electronically under heading 9901 are subject to MFN tariff 0% Indonesia. This heading includes 5 tariff lines: operating system software, in also application software, multimedia, supporting or driver data, and other softwares and digital products. But however, it is important to note that in heading 9901 applies only to the software and other digital products transmitted electronically, and does not cover machines or devices that are imported or will be imported. For example, software that is imported in the form of compact disc or DVD, Blu-ray, or using the carrying medium is classified under the HS 8523, not in heading 9901. Okay, For the next slide, I will turn to Mr. Hidayat.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Gilang. Next slide, please. Yeah, after listening the legal framework and regulations presented by my colleagues, so these slides actually outlines various reasons why the administration of digital goods importation is important for Indonesia. The rationales behind this is not solely for the revenue collection purposes, but also for more significant reasons, which will be explained briefly as follows. First is to keep the record trade statistic, and second, to promote a level playing field. Third, to support SMEs or digital talents. Further, to provide certainty for government and businesses. And the last is to assess digital good risk with the explanation that you can read in the slide. Okay, next slide, please. And in order to administer the importation of digital goods, besides the imposition of Chapter 99 that classifies digital goods transmitted electronically, Indonesia government has also regulated provision of digital goods with the issuance of Ministry of Finance Regulation number 190 year 2022 regarding import provision for home use. The several important points of the provisions are explained as follows. First, there is no new or no additional procedure that importers should apply in declaring importation of digital goods transmitted electronically. The import procedure is practically the same with the import procedure for tangible goods. There is also no new import document for the importation of digital goods. The document is the same with the importation of tangible goods, which is also known as BC 2.0. The import procedure applies only for importer as legal entity and not for individuals. Importer then must submit the import document through online application system called CESA, or Custom and Excise Information System and Automation. Moreover, the importer will minimize element data of import declaration, and because of the nature of digital goods, so the importer of digital goods will minimize import declaration with minimum require of element data to fill in. Next slide, please. This is actually the more deeper explanation regarding the provision. The regulation can be summarized that first, there is some exclusion from some provision, such as the importers do not need to submit the manifest or delivery data. There is no provision of unloading and storing of import goods in custom area. And also there is no physical inspection of goods and clearance of digital goods without customs officers' approval. And then in terms of declaration, like I said previously, that the importer will fill the import declaration with minimum element of data with the specific element as stated on the slide. And then with regard to the monitoring and submission mechanism, the Indonesian Custom will conduct custom audits for monitoring the import of digital goods, and the importers may submit the import declaration no later than 30 days from the date of payment of the purchase. Next slide, please. Another our finding and discussion that actually Indonesian Custom faces challenges in importation of digital goods transmitted electronically in terms of recording trade statistics of digital goods transmitted electronically. In the upper diagram, before the implementation of HS 99 and Ministry of Finance 199, the importation of products such as PC, laptop, etc. without software is declared with the HCF product itself and the import value of the product. And then the importation of product with software included is also classified in HS of the product with import value of the product plus the software. And the importation of software in carrier media is also classified under HS code of the carrier media, example 8523 with the import value of the software. But what about the importation of software transmitted electronically? There is no specific HS code for the software, nor will it be declared with import value in import declaration. This has become the challenge that Indonesian Customs were facing at those days. The lower diagram shows that after the implementation of HS 99 since 2018, like my colleagues explained previously, And the implementation of Minister of Finance 190, the both regulation has stipulated to solve the challenge. Now, the importation of software transmitted electronically will be classified in HS 9901, and the import value will be declared as the value of the software. Thus, the data will be recorded in the national balance of trade. Next slide, please. As my colleagues explained that we also collect the statistical data. So this slide presents that since January 2023 to September 2023, we have gathered several data, statistical data that there are already 50 importers who have submitted the import declaration with a total number of 505 documents, and the import value is more than 222 million US dollar, or around 3.3 trillion rupiahs, and this is the import value, not the custom duties, since it is 0%. And also in the right graph shows that the number of import declaration since 17 April of 23 was increasing significantly, because at that time, at that date, the online application system was launched to further facilitate the importation of digital goods. Okay, next slide, please. As the conclusion that several points that we will raise, several has been stated with my colleagues at the opening. But what we would like to underline here is that Indonesian Custom in this regard has provided rationales behind the Indonesian policy that is not solely for revenue collection purpose, since Indonesia apply 0% of the custom duties, but also for more significant reasons, such as to keep a record trade statistic, to promote a level playing field, to support domestic SMEs, and to provide certainty as well as to assess digital good risk. As lastly, Indonesia has implemented Ministry of Finance Regulation number 190/2022, which stipulates the provision of digital goods importation. The provision of digital goods importation, which has implemented by Indonesia, accommodates usefulness and easiness to the importers in declaring import declaration. Next slide, please. So there are some recommendations that we have raised in our paper, and we apologize due to the time limitation. So I think we will just summarize. There are three recommendations as stated in the slides. So we would like to, maybe the last one, that working with the domestic and international stakeholders can significantly contribute to improving the understanding and alleviating some concerns that may emerge during policy implementation. Next slide, please. Yes, I think this is the end of our presentation. Thank you very much for your attention, and we will very happy if there is inquiries regarding our presentation. Thank you very much. Back to you, Mr. Moderator.
Very interesting from your presentation, because we custom traditionally only faced with tangible goods, but now we also implement the importation of intangible goods via transmission, via electromagnetic transmission system. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for discussion. We have about 10 minutes. I will ask your edition to give your question, and let the presenter will answer.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, for the time, and thank you, Mr. Ahmad and Mr. Gilang, for the presentation. This is a highly interesting issue, because this is apparently the issue that will directly affect almost many people, whether in Indonesia or in the world, regarding the digital goods, because nowadays everything is transmitted digitally. I have several questions regarding the issue. The first issue would be, how would we enforce the regulation for the digital goods transmitted electronic goods that transmitted digitally for a company that doesn't have the office in Indonesia, such as probably on the top of my head, maybe Steam or Spotify offices. It's pretty different than Shopee that has office in Indonesia, but how will we enforce the digital goods transmitted through the platform itself? We know there are several platforms. How will we enforce that to the application that doesn't have office in Indonesia? Because I think it has a really huge, probably a huge amount of transaction in there, especially let's say Spotify as a multimedia, Steam as a software or products, and maybe other platforms in the Windows or Mac OS. That would be the first one, and the second one would be at the present during the presentation the import is actually done through the rationale that we impose the tariffs is the platform become the country. We assume that the platform is actually the country that we transmit the receiver. I would like to ask, what will be the repercussions for Indonesia is if we actually impose it and enforce the ministerial regulation, and let's say we enforce it to the highest degree, what will be the repercussion for Indonesia in the international level? So let's say we enforce it for several games, and then Japan retaliates, or it brings into the international court. What will be the repercussion for us? Because if I recall, in the pro moratorium reason, there is a retaliation issue. So what will be the repercussion for Indonesia in terms of trade or other issue if we enforce it to the highest degree? I think that would be my question. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your question. Now for the second question, we have chat from Acha. Good afternoon. On HH code-wise, you have issued specific tariff heading for digital goods in Chapter 99. So we would like to learn about how you're working on HH classification of digital products transmitted electronically, and have you collaborated with other government units? Then the second question, after establishing of HH99, we would like to know the procedures of customs import declaration from importer side on digital products under this HH code. Is it voluntary declaration, and how you track and trace the movement of such products that are transmitted electronically? Thank you. There are now 3 questions from audience in the area and 2 from Zoom. Please, presenter to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you very much for the questions from audience. We are very appreciate the questions that delivered to us, and all of them we think that very important, and we try to answer based on our research and our findings related to our paper. So the first one is how would it be enforce the, let's say, the company which is not located in Indonesia. I'm not mistaken, it's like that. Okay, first, maybe my friends, my colleagues will add the answer, but as our presentation, back to the legal framework, actually, Indonesian customs are only dealing with the import in this term that, according to our law, that the digital goods is goods, because maybe it relates to the second question. Since it is good, so like the previous slide, it will be collected or it will be imposed custom duty if the goods come to Indonesia or cross the Indonesian border. So it will be the same with the digital goods. And also, as long as they or the company import or transmitted electronically the digital products to Indonesia or cross the border of Indonesia. So basically, it is subject to custom duties. Whether the company who owns the digital product is located in Indonesia, as long as the digital goods is transmitted to Indonesia and cross the border of Indonesia, so it is subject to custom duties. And also please differentiate, this it is based on our interview with our colleagues in Directorate of Custom Techniques that please differentiate between goods and services. So Indonesian Custom is only dealing with the goods, like I explained previously, that as long as the goods is transmitted electronically or imported through our cross-border into Indonesia, and according to our Indonesian law, that digital goods is good, is tangible good. I mean, it's good. Sorry, it's good. So it's subject to custom duty, whether the company they resides in Indonesia or not, because it is different with the service. Because Indonesian custom do not regulate regarding the service, and it much more relate with the tax. So basically, as long as the digital products transmitted electronically to the Indonesian territory, so it is subject to custom duties. And also we, I think we have additional data that we do not put in the slide, that there are some categorization of HS 9901 that has been imported to Indonesia. And then the second question is about the retaliation, is that correct? Yeah. Okay. Actually, in our previous slide, we explained about the challenges that we face, Indonesian custom face, how to monitor, how to to trade, to record the trade statistic with the digital products, right? And according to WTO, that the tariff actually is one of the legal framework to be applied. Let me put this way. I think previously there is no complaint, like if the importation, let's say in the CD, right? Previously we know CDN, we are not using that anymore. The software was imported inside the CD. So what happened with the access code, if I'm not mistaken, that the access classification falls under the carrier medium, like in the slide previously. There is tariff there. The tariff is the carrier medium. It also happened in the past, and there is no country complain about that. But when there is a provision or administering the importation of digital goods through electronic transmission, which Indonesia put 0%, a lot of countries they protest something like that. But actually, back to the international framework or agreement in WTO, that actually the tariff is legal. Tariff is because it is legal as long as it's not exceeding the bond tariff that is stipulated in WTO. And I think Indonesia now is the only country that applies this provision, this mechanism, and I think it will bring some insight for other country that it is possible to apply custom duties for digital trades. And then for the second question from the online, about HS99, yeah, I think we will consult, of course, with the related directorate, and you also may contact us about that. But what we can say that as long as a member of HS convention, I think every member has their privilege, have their rights to regulate any goods that is not stipulated in chapter 1 until 96 or 97. And then, sorry if I'm not so precise about the HS code, but Indonesia uses the chapter 99 because this is the privilege that has been given by the WCO to the member of HS convention. And then the second question is, yes, yeah, actually, how to track about the importation by the importer. At this stage, what we can say from our for our discussion with our colleagues to write the paper that yeah, importer will be encouraged to declare their import declaration in terms of digital products, because like in our rationale that one reason to administer the digital product importation is to provide certainty for the businesses in terms of how they can declare their digital products importation. And also Indonesian Custom will provide any support mechanism like information and other like a dissemination of information if it is needed for the importers regarding this provision. Yeah, I think that's my question, and maybe. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you for the questions.
Applause to our presenter today, because time is now. It's time for our second presenter from Ms. Alevtina Viktorovna Ivanusenko from the Russian Custom Academy at Lubersky, Russia. The title is "How Does Digitalization Change the Role of Customs Authorities and the Implementation of Their Fiscal Function?" Now I would like to say hello to Ms. Alevtina. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me clearly?
Is it okay if I call your first name Alevtina?
Yeah, that's okay.
Thank you, Alevtina.
Can you see my presentation?
You may start now.
Okay. Good afternoon, distinguished colleagues. It's a big honor to speak before you in this important conference. I represent my country and my university, Russian Customs Academy. To tell the truth, so in comparison with the previous research, my paper is not so precise, so it's too general, and that was really very interesting to meet the Indonesian experience. That's really was impressive. So my presentation will cover mainly fiscal impact of digitalization. And first, we are going to analyze what have been changed in the international trade. After that, we'll be taking a look at fiscal implications of the digitalization for the customs authorities. And finally, I'll outline recommendations for customs administrations. So let me first raise the story of the changes in the international trade. In before pandemic, 2016, McKinsey published the report, Digital Globalization, the New Era of Global Force, stating that soaring flows of data and information now generate more economic value than the global goods trade. The pandemic made a boom in all areas related to the digital. So the main drivers of growth in cross-border flows are intangible assets, services, and talents. Flows of services, international students, and intellectual property grew about twice as fast as goods flows in 2010-2019. Data flows grew at nearly 50% annually. We are witnessing nowadays a fundamentally new model of foreign trade. At the same time, the global goods trade, traditional trade, has flattened. Slowdown in traditional trade growth, or this tendency dubbed as globalization, has implications for customs revenue collection, regardless of the types of duties and taxes levied. Taking into account the fact that these taxes are based on the import value, customs administration should be aware that their revenue collection may not increase as fast as it did it previously, unless a new tax on imports is adopted. The concept Industry 4.0 is the main result of the Internet revolution. So, however, we also have to deal with Trade 4.0 and supply chains 4.0. So, as the overview of the changes of the picture, so how did the fourth industrial revolution affect trade? Please have a look at this list. And secondly, I'd like to turn to the impact on the physical function of the customs authorities, and I'll explain each of these points in respect of this matter. So the first one, the division into traditional trade and trade with the digital element. So in accordance with the commonly accepted definition, electronic commerce is that of goods and services ordered by digital means and delivered either physically or digitally. E-commerce can be referred to as physical goods bought via digital platform that could be shipped overseas into foreign markets. As to the work of customs administration, so in particular for the purposes of customs valuation, new aspects give rise to a large number of challenges and questions. New forms of trade are carried out in large volumes of small deliveries. This process is accompanied by an array of information inaccessible to the customs authorities, and the container revolution gave way to a new postal shipping format, and there is the shift from containerization to parcelization. And with the forecast in this slide of the global B2C cross-border e-commerce market size, so you may see this one. Digital trade is the transfer of data, products, or services by electronic means, usually the internet. Digital trade can play a role in e-commerce by facilitating the buying, selling, servicing of physical goods. And there is an increasing frequency of combining both physical plus digital elements in a single sale. So, for example, a physical good with a digital subscription service. It's important to highlight that the cost of digital element in the price of the final good can be several times higher than the price of the tangible component. And thus, the concept of a product has become much broader nowadays. The next significant difficulty is the application of the term electronic transmissions. Electronic transmissions are free of custom duties in accordance with the moratorium, and but today emails are not only letters and documents. So there is a software, music, movies, games, books, and often an integral part of the traditional product. World Trade Organization members deepen discussion of the e-commerce moratorium, and there are different approaches discussed nowadays. So in addition, a number of different approaches as to what electronic transmissions refers to coexist across these agreements. So this can be grouped into four broad categories based on whether countries have further clarified the concept of electronic transmission in at least one of their trade agreements. So no additional clarification of what electronic transmissions are. Just for example, China electronic transmissions as digital products, United States, electronic transmissions or delivery by electronic means as services, European Union, and overlapping approaches on the classification. The Colombia as an example. There are different approaches to how to get fiscal implications. So potential customs revenue losses, including from replacement of trade and digitizable goods with their digital equivalent. So, but some experts say that that will be really small. So fiscal implication would be small and could be offset through, just to say, value-added tax. Data-driven business models are rapidly growing, affecting all stages, from production to the provision of services, some of which also include cross-border exchange. So the role of new subjects participating in international trade has been strengthened. So the status of an exporter and an importer, which previously belonged only to a company, has actually been given to an individual today. If earlier the traditional foreign trade was the B2B segment, today the seller and the buyer are more and more often a person, and there are B2C, C2C, just even peer-to-peer models in the sharing economy. In new way and place of purchase, electronic trading platforms and the internet and services platforms allowed you to create a variety of business models, and new business models have given a rise to a number of new participants in operations. So even intermediaries, internet platforms, social media, marketplaces, logistics centers, etc. And there are the questions customs administrations need to answer. As you may see, so the majority of these questions are connected with the customs valuation, customs value control. New pricing models. So pricing models generally are getting more complex, and prices on internet platforms can be formed under the influence of complex algorithms. And this is not always a transparent process. So moreover, prices can be customized. It's necessary to monitor new tools, methods, business models for the timely development of policy responses in terms of taxation. And as you know, business derives the greatest profit from the new tool at the very first stage of the implementation. So when the regulator is completely unprepared. 3D printing technology, so the most disruptive, of course, is changing the concept of goods and production. So technology makes it possible to transfer physical goods anywhere in the world through the electronic transfer of software. So thus bypassing import a new product, so the most expensive component of which is an intellectual property created in another country, enter the territory of the foreign state without crossing the border. And thus the concept of a border, the concept of a flow of goods, a commodity is completely changed. The question arises of what to consider as the place and as movement of the transaction, so the origin of the goods. So the consumer actually acquires the status of a producer as a new title prosumer. A unified approach to the regulation of products of this technology has not been developed yet. And there is a debate on whether intangible goods should be classified. So I mean 3D renderings should be classified as traditional goods which follow to the provision of the GATT, or as a services which follow the provision of the GATT. So it's clear that we need to make the generally accepted consistent classification of the world of digital goods and to reach a resolution of the legal treatment of digital products. So at the same time, according to the experts of the global 3D printing market, plans to grow, so you may see at this slide. What about the other challengers? International trade involves global value chains. This means that the role of value-added tax is increasing. Experts in recent years have repeatedly emphasized the importance of this tax. And the International Monetary Fund, in particular, has warned that customs authorities may underestimate the impact of the VAT and the need to improve the administration of this tax. So the need to strengthen the interaction between customs and tax authorities is an effective means of controlling increasingly complex supply chains. But what is the problem? So it's extremely important to avoid duplication of information during the collaboration. So it's really unreasonably expensive. The term silo mentalities, which is initially appeared in the business environment, becomes relevant to the activities of departments and states. So the potential role that open government data can play in digital trade is really extremely high. But there, blockchain technology can become the optimal tool. So each number of transactions within one value chain will be recorded, which means that the data on intermediary services will be transparent. But such a scenario for storing and using data is possibly only a situation of collaboration, cooperation between administrations. One more important topic. So approaches in the work of customs administrations must be changed. So a lot has been done in recent years, but if you use the concept of digitalization, it's more correctly to say that the customs authorities are moving from digitization to digitalization, attempts to create regulatory systems adequate to the modern economic agenda, actually based on the reformation of the current norms. And the shift of the vector to digital transformation is fundamental, so which also requires a completely different quality of human resources. Solutions. So the research defines the general development areas for customs administrations, not including detailed recommendations for different countries. Of course, these proposed areas need to be detailed depending on the national particularities. There are different technology adoption rates in countries, and the level of digital competence customs have about the digital economy issues varies too. So as to the proposals on the tax customs administration collaboration, this is the question of discussion too. So foreign trade regulation authorities arranged very differently. And there is a well-organized data exchange between administrations. In some countries, that regulations vary as well. As to the electronic transmissions, a new version of this term, usage for customs valuation rules, common approaches need to be developed. So the separate issues as 3D printing require a detailed multidisciplinary discussion. As a strategy of customs administration, digital transformations, there are no common understanding of what it is. So what are the approaches may meet the modern digital economy requirements? It's clear, but it's clear that foreign patterns crucially changed, foreign trade patterns have crucially changed, and customs administrations need to match them. So there are main spheres to develop. These are personnel qualification, organizational integrity, technology implementation, and data-driven models of work. So that's all for today. So thank you, and sorry for the limit.
Thank you, Aleftina. Now it's time for discussion. A very interesting presentation. You talk about 3D printing and continuous professional development. Now we ask our audience, do you have any questions from the floor or from the Zoom? Question? No questions so far. Aleftina, can you explain us about 3D printing in your country? Is it trending or viral? Because we still new. This technology is still new to my country.
Thank you for this question. I really think that it's important, but Just to say the truth, is not regulated nowadays. So that's a new question too for our country, and we are still at the face of the debate. So we are discussing right now what shall we do, not just with the 3D printing regulation, but with the moratorium. Yeah. So there are discussions and debates around the term of electronic transmission. Need we include so the content of this transmission into this term, or we need to use just something close to your experience, I mean the Indonesian. No, we have no solution nowadays. So there is no general solution. We are at the phase of discussion.
Okay, thank you, Aleftina. Next question. If there is no more question for Aleftina, then we give applause to her presentation. Now we go to the third presentation. We call Adrianta Rasembiring, Mr. Diyuva Kristanovic, and Mr. Muhammad Hadian Ridho from the Directorate General of Custom and Excise. The presentation title is Customs Fraud Detection Using Extremely Boosted Neural Network, XBNet. Time is yours. You may start the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good afternoon to all of the audiences. Thank you for the opportunity for us to share our ideas, and it's such an honor for us to be with you all today. On behalf of my group, let me introduce ourselves briefly. My name is Ridho. Beside me is Yova and Rian. We are from Directorate General of Custom and Excise, Ministry of Finance, Republic of Indonesia. Our paper entitled Customs Fraud Detection Using XBNet. Next slide, please. Okay, first of all, I will tell you about our research background. The COVID-19 pandemic made us perceive the importance to control the cross-border trade with the aim to bring the completion of the domestic demand. Directorate General of Custom and Excise hold a valuable contribution in cross-border trade related to the astronomical transaction. In 2020, World Customs Organizations, WCO, reported the intensification in numbers of attempted fraud and tax evasion occurrence. In order to ensure the compliance of the stakeholders, customs hold an essential role in facilitating and supervising the cross-border trade. Those responsibilities sometimes conflicted with one another, which make the duties of customs become more complex to handle. While facilitating the cross-border trade, customs also conducted physical inspection that be regarded as a simple manner to monitor the declared documents and the imported goods are matched and following the applicable regulations. Look at the left side of the presentation. The research that have been done by WCO draw a conclusion that among 72% countries in the world has the physical inspection ratio below 30%, despite the fact that Indonesia is only at 8% of total import activities that have been physically inspected. As it's shown in the graph in front of you, Thailand and Philippines are leading with 30% and 35%, while Myanmar and India is on the second rank with 28 and 19% of the totals. The lowest among them is Malaysia with 4% of the total numbers. So, in the current situation, customs has to manage the astronomical numbers of transactions with shortcoming of manpower. In responding to the problem, it is argued that automation will be needed. As an effort to reduce the negative impacts of law enforcement, it could be argued that risk management play a vital role in detecting the suspicious trade activities. Next slide, please. Next, I will present about the literature review. There are several attempts to detect fraud in cross-border trade activities. The most traditional way in detecting fraud is static metrics and random selection algorithms. This is the model that has been used by Indonesia from decades in order to classify the level of risk on imported goods. The benefit of this method is that it is simple and easy to implement, while the disadvantage is that it cannot effectively detect suspicious transactions. The static matrix was only operational until 2019. The profiling matrix works based on the commodity and importer profiles. Subsequently, the rule-based method is also being used in time, and the way it works is partially automated. The advantage is of using a rule-based method, it is straightforward and interpretable. On the other hand, the system also have a drawback, specifically on the unstable identified pattern. This method is created by the expert in customs field. They judge based on the historical data and may be subjective sometimes. Implementing rule-based algorithms can be challenging for countries with limited capable officers who can create and regularly update the rules. In reality, many developing countries don't have enough skilled personnel for these tasks. In the present circumstances, with the rapid development of technology and more developed systems, the previous method enhanced and combined with machine learning algorithms. The advantage of using machine learning is that it can process the data comprehensively, but it depends on the specific model that we use. Each model has its own weakness, so we need to evaluate and regularly monitor the model. Indonesia is adopting a single model machine learning, in this case the random forest model. Amid the set of convenience that offered by the machine learning, it also has the limitation, such as the limited labels and unavailability of data. So in this research, we propose the extremely boosted neural network or XBNet model that resemble machine learning in general approach in the intent of better performance of the machine learning by combining multiple models of algorithms. We came out with this idea because we acknowledge that a single model is not sufficient enough to meet the need for solving complex and various models. This model is newly introduced in Indonesian customs algorithms mechanisms. The next slide will be presented by my colleague, Yova.
Okay, thank you. Let's see the data first. On the left side of the screen, we can see the data is used from the beginning of 2022 till the mid of the year, 30 June of 2022. On this project, we focus on 4 different customs offices, so we can depict the specific characteristic of its region based on the customs office. And then we finding the specific pattern of its customs office. If we see in the illicit rates, there are different rates between the office. I think it's just the common problem for the data analytic problem that we face imbalanced data. We employ several methods to tackle this one. Actually, it's the undersampling, oversampling, and the smoother algorithm to tackle these constraints. And then if we move to the right side, here is the variable that we use on this project. There are 25 variables and consists of 2 independent variables, and the last one is the target variable, illicit variable. In the independent variable, there are mainly 2 variables, which are the customs declaration features. Here is the declaration text and so on and so forth that we receive from the importers or the stakeholders. And then the second one is the risk tag features. Actually, it's the profiling from us that we engineering by ourselves regarding to the risk based on the importer, the country, the customs broker, and the commodity itself. Actually, the risk tag features is a binary variable, which consists of the 1 for the risky and the 0 for not risky. Next slide, please. So this is the framework that we use, so we can conduct our data analytic project systematically. The first one, the data that we employ in this project, we'll be going through several steps before we fit it into the model. The first one is we prepare the data. There are several steps in the data preparation, like the cleansing data. We cleanse the data with its contain a missing value or something like that, and then we explore the data so we can extract the insightful information to conduct this project successfully. And then we labeling or encoding data. The next one, after we prepare the data, we split the data set into the two. They are a training data set. 70% of the data is training and the 30% is the test data set. The training data set will be used for the trainer to the model that we use in this project is XBNet. If we want to know about the XBNet in detail, we can read the research below that conducted by the SACAR 2022, but I will explain it to you briefly. The first one, the dataset as the inputs, we can see on the right screen, as the inputs will be going through its dense layer. In this illustration, we use 3 layers for the XBNet for the illustration. And for each layer, they will be extracted its feature importance. And then for each layers will be compute in the end the loss computation. So if the inputs is 25 variables, we can set it the output into the 25 variable output too. And then the loss computation and accuracy will be updated by boost addition by using the back propagation. The XBNet itself consists of a tree-based model and the neural network method. The XGBoost3 will be in the dense layer, will be going through its dense layer, and the neural network part is the iteration model. So the inputs will be going through the loss computation, and then will be back propagation, and then will be going to the layer again, and there will be iteration as we said as we want. Next. This is the scenario that we use for training the model. Actually, we focus on two parameters, which are the hidden layer and the epochs. For the first scenario, there are 2 hidden layers, and the second scenario juga also the 2 layers. But the third scenario use 3 layers. And the epochs, it's the iteration. We iterate the model for 50 times in the first scenario and 100 for the second, and the third scenario is 200 iteration. As we see in the right side of the screen, it's the result of the model that we can see the accuracy and the loss. They are different between the customs office because I think there is something in the data. Maybe we can elaborate more in the next slide. For the Tanjung Emas will be the most suitable model will be conducted with the parameter in scenario, the first scenario, and the Belawan, Merak, and Makassar. The most suitable parameter for their model is the second scenario. Next slide, please. Will be explained by my friend Andrianta.
Okay, thank you. I will continue our presentation. And from the previous slide, we have got the result of accuracy and loss validation after completing the data training process for each parameter. And based on the table, we have now the best accuracy model for Tanjung Mas is the first model with hidden layer 2 and epochs 50. And the best model for Belawan, Merak, and Makassar is the second model with hidden layer 2 and epoch 100. But in this result, we hope we get a high accuracy, but accuracy is not the only measure to select the best model because the accuracy is only predict the true positive and the true negative. True positive mean that is happen where we are predict suspicious and the reality is a fraud. And true negative is happen where our prediction there is no fraud, and the reality is no fraud too. So the accuracy don't show the error, mistake in the prediction. So we can use the performance metrics that is consist precision, recall, and F1 score to help us deeply analyze the weakness of accuracy. So in this performance metric, we consider the precision and recall, and the result is same like the accuracy. The best model for Tanjung Mas is the first model, and the best model for Belawan, Merak, and Makassar is the second model. Next slide, please. This slide show us the trend line of the accuracy and loss validation process after dataset training process. Overall, we can see the best trend line is happen in Belawan model, because we can see that the graphic of the accuracy in up have a slightly increased trend line, and the loss in below have a decreased accuracy trend line. And the gap between training and testing is getting closer. And this model is satisfied enough to be selected for Belawan. But in the other side, if we see in Tanjung Mas model, this trend line is not satisfied enough, because the trend line of accuracy have a decreased trend line, and the loss have increased trend line. And the gap between the training and testing is not getting closer. But after we evaluate more, we choose the selected model for its office. The model we are select is this model. Next slide, please. This slide is show the feature importance of our model. This is a contribution of its variable in building the model. We can see that overall the declarant tax is the most variable that contributing in the building in the model, and we can learn that the number of text is still important variable in detecting whether the import declaration have a fraud or have no fraud. Next slide, please. So our conclusion is the XBDET model, ensemble model using tree-based model and neural network is good enough, because this model have a good accuracy to predict suspicious transaction. And our recommendation from our research is for the next future research, we can more explore more variable to use as input in this model, and we can add the timeline for the data set. And we can explore more about the parameter tuning, because in this research we just only use to parameter the epoch and hydrodryer for the parameter tuning. And in the next research we can add more parameter to get a better model. Next slide, please. I think this is the end of our presentation. Thank you for attention, and I give back to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you for your interesting presentation. You mentioned about algorithm and neural network structure and processes. Now we have question time for about 10 minutes. We give the floor for question or the Zoom. Yes, Mr. Please state your name.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Moderator, for the opportunities. So my name is John, and I come from Directorate of Communication in Indonesian Customs Headquarters. That was such a amazing presentation. This is surely such a new knowledge for me to think that Indonesian customs IT team has reached this another level. So based on my experience, which is absolutely near zero knowledge about the IT related thing. So what I can conclude that, and based on my short research, so the XBNet is used is a combination of method to achieve something that the ultimate goal is to create a more reliable data, of course, for better policy making. So actually, what I want to ask is, and based on you guys your recommendation, so in the future we need more research to use another data set or something like that. So can you tell us if there are any other elements or for the data set aside of Indonesian customs? So we know that our data sets consist of, from my understanding, from much from the PIB, from the import declaration. Do you guys think that we need one or two or three crucial element that is needed for the improvement of this XBNet method that is currently on another agencies, so that we can improve the method, and then we can open the opportunities to cooperate with another agencies? I think if it's not confidential or something like that, or you just or you guys can just state so we need one, two, or three, something like that. So I think that's all my question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John, for your question. Very interesting question. We still open for the second question from Flor. Yes, please state your name. Please.
Baik, oke, thanks Pak Mumin, moderator. My name is Imam Trihidi. I am from Banten Regional Custom Office. Very interesting paper. I just want to ask our opinion. You use type parameter in this model by custom declaration feature, right? And then restack feature. I think we can improve this model if next time maybe we can use financial ratio, for example, or taxation data. We can use compliant in value-added tax or something like that. What do you think about that? Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Imam, for your question. If there's another question from Zoom. No question. Okay. From the floor, then the third question.
Thank you, Pak, and thank you for the speakers. I would like, my name is Pringguan from Indonesia National Single Window. So I would like to ask, so this is some interesting issue that we bring up to the table, because you guys bring something new to our paper. I mean, there is very limited research that using neural network. So my question would be, what is important of this research compared to the, you said it before that only 8% of the total imports that have been inspected. And what is the importance, why we have to use the neural networks compared to the prior method that we normally use? What is the benefits? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. There are three questions, then we will let the presenter to answer one by one.
Okay, thank you for the question. First of all, for the first question from Mr. John. Actually, The question is how to improve the model, right? Okay, maybe we can go to the slide if we can show it again. I believe it's in the data set and features. Up please, again. The first one is here. So there are many scenarios that can be implemented to improve this model. First of all is we conduct more scenarios to find the better accuracy and the loss. We focus on two of things that hidden layer and epochs actually have a limitation in our hardware and software. So the only focus is in these two things. And the other reason maybe, yes, the probability of the things, maybe we can go up again in the data set. Again, this one. So the performance of the model, it's totally depends on its data. So if we have the data that more complex and more complete, like in the left side, the illicit rates is just below 10%. If we have more than 50, like we have a balanced data, so 50 rates for the illicit and the 50% others stands for the non-fraud. So if we have if we have balanced data, it can be improved the data set itself. But to tackle this constraint, actually we conduct several methods like F1 score. It's the metric evaluation for imbalanced data set, and it's quite useful in this project. So maybe that's the possibility to improve the model. And then for the second equation, it's about the financial ratio and tax data and the if AT. Actually, what we conduct in this project, on this data analytic project, is we simulate if they are a new transaction in import declaration. So if they are a new data like import declaration from the importers, we use all the data that they declare to identify which is it is the fraudulent trade or not. So we cannot use this one because we simulate things like the new importers, but actually it is good for the periodically what we can say evaluation for the determine the importers or the risk of the importers, the countries, and the commodities. And for the third question, maybe you can answer it.
Maybe I try to answer the third questions from Ringo. Maybe I can simplify your question is why did we choose the XBNet model, right? Recently, we in the Directorate of IT in Indonesian Customs, we just use a single model. The name is Random Forest. But why we propose this model? Because the XBNet combined with two models, not a single one. The first model is XGBoost and the second model is neural network. So it combined these two models. And the previous research said that the combined models give more accuracy, more precision results than the single one. And the XBNet is relatively a new model. So it introduced in 2022 by the Tuskar and his college. Now, beside the XBNet, there is a lot of models too, like logistic regression, linear regression. But this one, the XBNet, is relatively new, and this model cannot never implemented in customs data, especially in Indonesia. So we try to implement it in, and we in the Directorate of IT in Indonesian Customs, still finding a better model more and more, because we are doing more research, because there is a lot of model out there, and there every year there will be additional of the new model. Maybe my colleagues can add my answers.
Okay, about the model. Actually, today we employ just a single model, which if we can, we know, each model has their own assumption and then has their own weakness. So in order to tackle the assumption or the limitation of the model, we try to combine with a neural network because the random forest, actually, the tree-based, we use two kind of model, right? The first one is tree-based model, which by research is proven that tree-based model is the best model to use to predict the tabular data like we have like now. But the only limitation of the tree-based model is that the model is a weak learner. So we need something from deep learning method to tackle this limitation. And then we use the neural network architecture to make this tree-based model more comprehensive, and then we can make that to predict more accurately. So we can increase the hit rate, and then we can increase the revenue, and so on and so forth. Maybe that's all about the model. Thank you.
Thank you for the presenter answering all the questions from the floor. We give applause, big applause to presenter. Now we come to our fourth presenter online. We say hello to Yulia Sergeyevna Chisenko. Hello, Yulia. Your voice is still mute.
Do you hear me now?
Okay, it's okay if I call you Yulia, your first name?
Yeah.
It's okay.
Let me start.
Okay. Yulia Sergeyevna Chisenko is a junior researcher at Research Institute of the Russian Customs Academy at Lubersky, Russia. Her title, her presentation title is Improvement of the Harmonized Commodity Description and Coding System in the Circular Economy Environment. The time is yours. You may start your presentation.
Dear colleagues, tell me please, do you see the slides?
Yes, we can see the slide.
Okay, first I thank you for the possibility to take part in such important and significant conference. I'm honored to be here, and let me start. The circular economy, also known as closed-loop economy, is currently one of the leading trends in the context of economic policies in many countries worldwide. The concept of the circular economy offers a fundamentally new approach to production, consumption, and business activities based on renewable solutions and business models. The circular economy approaches are particularly relevant in the context of global efforts to reduce carbon emissions and predicted resource scarcity. What is considered waste in the traditional linear economy becomes an asset or resource in the circular economy. This represents a kind of revolution in the overall system of production and consumption, as it involves not only creating individual resource-saving solutions, but also rethinking the very concept of resources and its place in the global economic and production system. This study analyzes the main directions and principles of recycled resources, trade, and examines existing customs regulations for the classification of such goods in accordance with the harmonized commodity description and coding system. Problems and paths of development of the circular economy have been the focus of attention for both Russian and international researchers for several years. The results of their scientific work you can see on this slide. However, there is currently a lack of developments and scientific articles specifically addressing the implementation of principles of trade in secondary goods within the harmonized system. This topic has only been discussed within the framework of the Green Customs Project established by the World Customs Organization, as well as in symposiums on the Green Harmonized System held under the auspices of the World Customs Organization in 2022-2023. Thus, the question of adapting the nomenclature to the needs of new eco-friendly conditions of international trade and production remains understudied and particularly relevant. here presents the main directions of the circular economy development at the beginning of 2023, which were identified based on the analysis of the activities of approximately 4,000 startups and innovative companies. It can be seen that more than 70% of the directions of development of the circular economy in some way associated with the production of circular goods. The production of such goods has facilitated the creation of corresponding business models, which are typically grounded in the cradle-to-cradle concept, wherein the end-of-life disposal process involves further recycling. Examples of the implementation of these models in different countries are presented on the screen. Within these business models, several types of production process stand out: upcycling and downcycling. These are secondary recycling processes that result in a higher quality or lower grade product compared to the original production. Industrial symbiosis or closed-loop recycling involves the use of byproducts from one company's production as resources for another. Examples of the application of such production processes are presented on the screen too. Analysts from the German company Statista have projected the growth of circular trade turnover in 2026 compared with 2022. According to their estimates, the volumes of circular trade will more than double across various product categories that can be identified as used goods. The materials used in the circular economy can be divided into several groups as presented on the screen. The popularity of trading in such goods is driven by high demand in developing countries, as it allows them to acquire high-quality used goods at lower prices instead of lower-quality new goods. However, there are barriers to trading in these goods, including the lack of differentiation between new, refurbished, used goods or waste and scrap in most countries, leading to a lack of data on cross-border trade in recycled products. As a result, high import tariffs or non-tariff trade restrictions, such as import bans, export bans, and complex bureaucratic procedures may be applied to refurbished goods. These barriers hinder the operations of recycling enterprises as they increase transactions time and cost, making the supply of goods unpredictable. One of the main obstacles to trade in such goods is the lack of codes identifying these products in the harmonized system. This leads to the problem of unreliable customs declaration, creating a gray area. In order to overcome this limitation in harmonized system codes, some countries supporting trade in processed goods have included a formal definition of what constitutes a primary and proceeds product in bilateral trade agreements. The transition to a closed-loop economy has been the subject of discussion during the global conference of the World Customs Organization, Green Customs. One of the main tasks for the development of an effective circular economy was identified as the ability to track, assess, and quantitatively measure emerging trade flow trends in the context of a closed-loop economy. So let us consider the current version of the Harmonized System 2022. Among more than 5,000 harmonized system codes, there is only one code provided for reconditioned goods and one hidden for used goods. It's worth noting that used goods can be distinguished in national nomenclatures based on the harmonized system. On the screen, you can see such examples from the Eurasian Economic Union Customs Commodity Nomenclature, which contains codes for used engines, equipment, motor vehicle, and musical instruments. Additionally, the harmonized system includes a category for waste and scrap, which pertains to various goods and appears in 31 out of the 99 harmonized system chapters. Of particular interest in this regard is the term municipal waste used in the harmonized system. The definition of this term, according to the note 4 to Harmonized System Chapter 38, is presented on the slide. In accordance with the harmonized system, municipal waste refers to waste collected from urban infrastructure facilities and street refuse. This provision merits significant attention in terms of green the harmonized system, as many countries actively promote and implement separate waste collection systems, plastic, paper, or glass, which are subsequently recycled in industrial enterprises. It's worth noting that the publication of the harmonized system codes in 2022 led to the creation of a new heading and Note 6 to Section 16 for waste and scrap of electrical and electronic equipment as one of the fastest growing waste categories. Furthermore, significant work in this direction is being carried out by the Secretariat of the Basel Convention, who has raised issues such as possible amendments to the harmonized system regarding used pneumatic tires and plastic waste during the agenda of the Harmonized System Review Subcommittee in 2022-2023. Thus, based on the analysis of the current state and trends of the circular economy, as well as the analysis of the current level of development of the harmonized system in this regard, it's deemed appropriate to develop practical recommendations that would enhance the harmonized system and adapt it to trade within the framework of the circular economy. So, according to American researcher Kellenberg, the harmonized system tool can help identify 62 types of waste that can be grouped into broader waste categories. You can see them on the screen. However, this grouping has theoretical significance and does not cover all types of waste traded internationally. It's also worth noting that there are three possible options for waste management: recycling, export, and domestic disposal. Waste is exported for two possible reasons: for processing into materials in a foreign country or for disposal in a foreign country. These characteristics are important for trade within the framework of the circular economy. Thus, it seems appropriate to provide detailed classification of waste based on their purpose. For example, distinguishing between waste intended for domestic disposal and waste intended for subsequent processing, or so-called secondary raw materials. Thus, the work on the strategic revision of the harmonized system within the development of the circular economy can be divided into three stages, as presented on the screen. In this regard, it's important to note that these innovations should also affect tariff regulation. For example, customs duties for secondary raw materials or used goods should be most favorable and attractive for businesses. For example, if a specific organization imports waste and scrap for the production of its goods, which are then exported as finished products, it will be eligible for customs duty exemption or simplified customs procedures. The traceability system in this case will provide evidence that the products are indeed manufactured from secondary raw materials. So, based on the findings and analysis presented in this paper on the circular economy and the role of the harmonized system, the following recommendations are proposed. First, within the work of the World Customs Organization Harmonized System Committee, which is responsible for conducting research on the strategic revision of the harmonized system, it's necessary for each contracting party to analyze their national nomenclatures of the presence of codes that detail the harmonized system's appearance, reflecting waste, used goods, and secondary raw materials. Furthermore, the Harmonized System Committee needs to consolidate the data and conduct an analysis to determine for which groups of goods, according to the harmonized system, the presence of codes for circular goods is most in demand. Second, at the National Customs Administration level, a dialogue with the business community needs to be conducted to identify potential trade needs for various secondary resources. This information should be brought to the discussion of the Harmonized System Committee for the allocation of new subheadings for circular goods. Third, based on the conducted research, it's necessary to review the existing structure of the harmonized system and reflect such goods in the appropriate groups. It's important to differ between waste intended for disposal in another country and goods suitable for use. Recommendations from the World Customs Organization should include provisions for tariff regulation of such goods and the reduction of customs duties. Thirdly, it's necessary to include definitions of terms such as secondary raw materials and circular goods in the legal text of the harmonized system. A clear distinction should be made between different types of circular goods. Fifthly, it's important to continue efforts to harmonize the harmonized system with the provisions of the Basel Convention and other international documents regulating environmental protection. Enhancing the identification within the harmonized system will allow for a clearer tracking of material flows in international trade of processed products. The successful resolution of these and other related tests largely determines the success of international trade in circular goods and ultimately the success of the closed-loop economy itself. So the concept of the circular economy presents a promising approach to address resource depletion and environmental degradation in the modern world. The application of the circular economy principles requires efficient systems and frameworks for the trade and management of circular goods. The harmonized system plays a crucial role in facilitating this trade by providing a standardized classification, a coding system for goods. So it's the end. I thank you for attention and I'm ready for your question.
Thank you, Julia, for your presentation. Very interesting presentation. It's now time for discussion from our participants. I open question from the floor or the Zoom. Yeah. Please state your name.
Thank you, Pak. Thank you, Julia, for your comprehensive presentation. So, if I'm not mistaken, for noting from your presentation that the background of this study is because there are unreliable custom declaration. So, and the harmonized systems code doesn't accommodate the waste, or doesn't reflect the waste according to the HS code itself. But I don't know. I'm thinking of this one because in ASEAN, we have a CDD is still ongoing on the fully implementation of ACDD, ASEAN Custom Declaration Document. I'm thinking that if we use to make it digitalized, so we cannot make it digitalized, and we put the parameters, we put the key on the code itself. So it's to elevate the accuracy on the code itself. So what do you think about this? Thank you so much.
Thank you for your question. Any second question? Please state your name first.
Okay. Thank you, moderator. My name is Haikal. Hello, Miss Julia. I would like to ask a question regarding the HS code for waste or refurbished goods, especially because there is a thin line between used goods and refurbished goods. So, to which extent we define which one is used goods and which one is we say it's a refurbished goods, and I want to know potentially in Russia, how would you define which one is used goods that cannot be used again and classified as waste, and which one is used goods that can be used again as refurbished goods? That would be the first one. And the second one would be, if we define the waste to a certain extent, to a really specific details, would it be detrimental to the company? So let's say we define the waste as a plastic that is from bottle, or maybe the plastic that comes from A or B or C. Wouldn't that be detrimental, because the company would say, okay, this is pretty much a hassle for us to work on, because before we just define and declare it as a waste, but right now we have to declare it very specific, and it sort of become a problem for us in the process of recording the process of the importation. Maybe that's my question. Thank you very much.
Very interesting question from Haikal. Perhaps if I can resume first. You're talking about how to identify, use, and refurbish. Yes. And the second, perhaps.
The second one would be, wouldn't it be an issue for the company to record their waste in such a specific detail, and it become detrimental to the recording itself? Thank you.
It means more work to input data. Okay. We have time for the third question now. If there's a third question. Okay. Not from the floor. Now I give time to Yulia to answer 1 and 2 questions from the floor. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I would like to ask the first speaker repeat or summarize your question, because it was some connection problems, I think. As I see, you spoke about the regulation, yes. So how it will be regulated in the stage of declaration, yes, if we implement this harmonized system structure with codes for waste, scrap, and used goods. Can you repeat, please?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you. So and the problem is we have the unreliable custom declaration, right? Regarding to the HS code, that doesn't reflect the waste. And then if we see that the recommendation that you have stated before, you mentioned that we need to restructure or to restructuring the HS code or making committee or something. My question is, would it put more effort on this, because in ASEAN member states, we are right now developing the same of to digitalize the manual custom declaration. So we would like to doing interoperability between the system, between custom and custom among the ASEAN member states. So the aims of this system is actually to make sure the reliability of the data elements that's sent, because to elevate the elements on the custom declaration itself. I mean, the whole point is actually to make it more digitalized. Sorry, yeah, thank you so much. I seek your thoughts on this. Thank you.
Please, your time.
Yes, thanks. But it's still some problems maybe with microphone. Can I ask you, sir, repeat this question? Can I ask the moderator repeat this question?
Okay, Yulia, let me rephrase the question. The ASEAN we Asian countries have new new method to it's called AGTC, right?
ACDD.
ACDD.
Yes.
ASEAN
Custom Declaration Document. It is actually the electronic form of custom declaration.
Okay. The declaration is submit electronically, and then the customs will determine this is waste or brand new. And what about in your Russian custom practice?
Yeah, I see. So the problem now is that that some companies take the policy of circular economy, but there is no provisions or any world documents which regulate this trade and which can identify all types of used goods and waste, scrap, and it's a problem for Russian business too, because as you see on one of my slides, there is companies in Russia which have these methods of trade which use used goods and secondary raw materials, but we don't have enough regulation, and it would be appropriate to discuss and to make some solutions on the international level. I mean, the platform of World Customs Organization, and so we can discuss and think out how to detail the harmonized system and how to make the difference between such categories of goods. And after that, we could make some provisions for declarations form, yes, for customs regulations and customs control. But the first step is to detail the harmonized system, because you know the harmonized system code is the basis for customs duties, for customs regulations. So I think it would be the first step. I hope I answer your question. And so the second question was about the distinguishing between used goods and refurbished goods currently in Russia. And as I said, we don't have enough provisions. We have some digitalization in our nomenclature based on the harmonized system, but it's connected only with waste and scrap. We don't mention used goods or non-used goods or secondary raw materials, and in the environment of new trends of implementation of circular economy, it's a problem. And also, as I said, we should make some solutions on the international level, and probably to change the structure of the harmonized system. As you know, World Customs Organization have a great project, as I remember from the 2020, which consider the strategic review of the harmonized system. And from my point of view, it would be a good solution to connect with strategic review with circular economy. And as for the third question about the companies, how they will adapt to this new structure of the harmonized system, as we supposed, yes. So I think if we can change and revise the structure of the harmonized system So it will lead to a new provisions, to a new legal texts, and so we will have new rules for foreign trade, international trade, and of course, business and companies will have to adapt to this new environment. But now we see the trends to new models of circular economy. And if we take a new model, so we should take a new rules. And I hope that companies will understand the importance of these provisions and also help the customs to implement these new rules, and it will be a new customs environment.
Thank you, Julia, for your answers. I hope that answered all the questions from the participants. Now,
Thank you.
yes. I'll give applause to Julia for a good presentation. Now because time has separated us and it's now due time, now I will give back my time to our MC, Taufik. Go ahead.
Thank you, Bapak Mumin, for leading such a very fruitful discussion. Give a round of applause to our moderator and all of the author. Distinguished guest participants, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very productive and inspiring time together. Hopefully, everyone here acquires today's conference to be of value. After this, we will have a closing ceremony in the main hall. Distinguished guests and dear participants, for the offline participants, we would like to ask you to come back to the main hall, and for the online participants on the Zoom meeting, you could join the room 1 through the link that you received on the email. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please join the main hall.